Oh, we did it, Libby!
Woo! Awesome.
How's it going?
Hate it when Facebook changes the rules on us.
So we had technical difficulties. Libby's been sitting here waiting for us. We tried going live on StreamYard. StreamYard did not stream it to Facebook. I don't know. Technical difficulties, but guess what? We're here. It's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. You're traveling. Thank you for joining us in the hotel to talk about your life, your business, and sales boost.
Yes, absolutely. Technology is only convenient when it works.
That's right. That's right. We love it or hate it. Most days we hate it, but you know what? Where would we be without it? Probably just looking at pagers and wondering who's texting us.
Did you say pagers?
Yeah. We just watched a movie with the kids. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
And they had a pager, and I was just dying laughing. I remember the old 07734. Hello. You'd sent it.
So I was not in the pager era. I'm just slightly younger, too young for that.
Oh, well, way to date us. I definitely rocked the pager with the chain hooked to the jeans. So that was back in the 93, 94 era.
Oh, yes.
Awesome.
I was just on that brisk of being too young. So I know what they are, but never had one.
Good for you. So how's it going? How are you today?
Good. I traveled up here to Atlanta. So I'm at an event here in Atlanta, but just good. Busy, working. I just came from, actually, where was I last week? Austin last week. New Orleans the week before that. So crazy busy.
I saw the shopping post while you're out and traveling in New Orleans. And that's where we met you last year.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that was where we met. Yes, at QDS.
Awesome. So you're doing a lot of traveling. What are you doing all this traveling for?
So a lot of it is a mix between work, speaking for my software, or learning. So Austin was SaaS founders. So I'm in a group mastermind group with other SaaS founders, learning how to make this technology work better.
Well, that's incredible. So what technology are you talking about or presenting to people?
So a little bit about me. I own a service company. So that's in Fort Myers. But I also own two SaaSes. So I have WootRecruit, which does recruiting. And then I have Service Cart, which does online quoting for the cleaning industry.
Ooh. Well, that's incredible. How long have you had those?
WootRecruit's about 3 years old. And Service Cart is actually super new. It's only about 6 months old.
So I know recruiting is a very hot topic now. I think especially more for the last few years. Why WootRecruit? What is that going to offer to a home service business owner that's going to, speed up or make hiring easier for them and save the headaches and painful trial and error of trying to get people through the door?
Yeah. So my story of cleaning has to do with WootRecruit. So I went through a horrible separation, divorce, whatever you want to call it. And I needed to create a job that I had control over my life and my schedule. So cleaning had like this, I actually started organizing. Then I added cleaning, but it had like the lowest startup cost ever. I mean, you just needed a vacuum cleaner. And so I did that, and it went really, really well, like too well. And I started to grow the business. And I always say I cleaned myself into a job, and I couldn't figure out how to get myself out of the field. I was cleaning and scrubbing toilets all day, and I suck as a cleaner. Like, I'm horrible. I am not efficient. I cost the company money because I overclean everything. And I got pregnant with my daughter during the midst of starting this cleaning company. And I started to panic because I would clean all day to just run to a Starbucks, change my clothes in the car or in the Starbucks bathroom, to run to an interview that no one was there for. Like, no, they didn't show up. And I remember one time I scheduled like 6 interviews in a row, all 45 minutes apart. for like no one to come. So I spent like 6 hours at a coffee shop with like no results. So I thought to myself, this is stupid. Like this is just dumb. There has to be an easier way.
Yeah.
So with technology, I'm not sure if you guys know what tech is, but tech is essentially nothing but a system or a process that uses technology to automate it. And so my organizing background kicked in, and I said, okay, I have to create a process to make this easier. And I read this book called Exponential Organization, and it's the basis of what all unicorn companies are created off of. So your Airbnbs, your Ubers, and to create a unicorn company, and by no means is WhoopRecruit a unicorn company, but to create a unicorn company, you have to leverage an asset or time, right? So we know Airbnbs, like they're leveraging the houses. Uber leverages cars. So you have to leverage an asset or time, because we as businesses or owners only have so much money and so much time. And to grow a company exponentially, you have to leverage something. So I'm scrubbing toilets all day, and I said, I have no more time. I do not want to have my daughter and be right back where I'm at. And so I said, the applicants have all the time. Like they're the ones that hold the time. So I created the process, and it's very, very user-friendly. So it's not an ATS. I'm going to say this right now, and a lot of people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but ATSs are barbarically outdated. They're not efficient.
What's an ATS? Yeah.
So an ATS is what every other recruiting person uses. It's an applicant tracking system or software. They're barbarically outdated because we don't know what that fingerprint was made off of. Like if I'm recruiting for a cleaning and it's scoring based off maybe a fingerprint for a male or a different industry. So they're outdated and they're extremely slow. So I created this process, and I created a process that was so user-friendly that the applicant wants to continue. And if they're qualified, they continue on, which is the engine that makes this run. So every part of the software and the practices inside the software are leveraging the applicant's time. And this is a way to grow at scale that doesn't cost a company more money or time.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have all.
We're like in awe, like, that makes so much sense.
So we're not a traditional. We are very untraditional when it comes to recruiting. Very untraditional, but we are effective. We're doing it now for over 500 companies, and we continue to grow. And my goal, right? And I've said this a few times out loud, but my goal is to take Indeed down.
Good for you, Libby.
I don't like Indeed anyway. They charge me too much money to give me
exactly. Because when your applicant applies, do you know that if you hire someone, they're still sending them emails saying, oh, another job opened up. You should go look at it. Oh, here's another interview link. You should go apply. Why do you think that our applicants that we paid money for are leaving or ghosting or going to other job or taking other offers? Because Indeed is still sending them that information, even if we remove them from the market.
Dirty. Interesting. So yeah, I mean, it's funny because you talked about that you go into these job interviews and nobody shows up, and we always have the over under. Like if we have 5 interviews for the next day, what's the over under? Maybe 2 will show up if we're lucky. And then like we space them out an hour apart because we want to be, respectful and just be able to interview everyone. And finally I said, you know what? No. If they want to interview with our company, they're coming at 7:30 in the morning. That's what time we start. And if they can't show up at an interview at 7:30 in the morning, well, then we're not wasting our time throughout the day to do that. But talk through the system, like how we can screen through them and filter out who's the good, who's the bad, and how we bring them in. Like I'm sure you're doing this process where they have to do some task, maybe. I don't know.
No test, but there's some of the parts of the software that automatically screen them out. And then there is steps or phases within the whole WhoopRecruit process that also screen them out besides the tech. So we teach you how to set up the interview, how to set up the office, how to and we don't do group interviews because a lot of my competitors say we do group interviews like WhoopRecruit. I'm like, we do stacked interviews, which is different. And so I have a whole process because again, processes are what helps us scale businesses. So we have a process to coach you and teach you So with WooRecruit, we don't say we're a software. We're actually a recruiting program because we have the service side that helps you. We take over your account. We have our hub, which is our software, and then our proven practices that are inside of it. I have over 100 training videos on how to recruit, how to set up that office, how to do an interview, to how to increase your show rate. So we have practices to even increase your show rate, to try to get up to about 50% show rate. Because right now, most people sit at below 50%.
Yeah, that's a scary number. But I think the one thing that I really liked that you mentioned there is how to do an interview.
Mm-hmm.
Because far too often as young entrepreneurs, it's like, all right, we're going to hire people to bring them in. It's like, all right, well, tell me about your backgrounds. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are you looking for in a job? All right, we'll get back to you. It's like there's no like questions to, just get them thinking and find out the personality, things like that. And no structure questions. It's usually different. I like having structure. So if you want to talk about that, maybe.
Yes. So there's so many ways to go with that question that you just brought up. Like my brain went in like 5 different directions. So with that, so many people put so much weight on the questions in the interview, like that's all. But there's so much more to the interview process, like so much more. What time do they show up? Like, where are they sitting? How are they sitting? Offer them coffee and water. Do they respond? How do they talk? So many of us put so much emphasis just on that segment of the interview that's just questions. Mm-hmm. But I want you to think of the interview as like a play. Angela might appreciate this. It is a play. We need to stage it, and we need to be prepared at every time, and we need to rehearse it. One thing, and we do this in sales, right? This is going to be a sales boost pitch. We do this in sales and in recruiting. We spend so much money for leads, whether that's a lead for a customer or a lead for an applicant. So much money, but we never practice. We tend to practice on the real deal, and that costs us money. So we want to teach you to take the interview seriously, interview the same way every time with the same questions. It is, a structured process where you're gathering data to make the best decision versus going with your gut, or you like them, or they're the least bad one of them all kind of thing. But, this is something I'm super passionate about. But we get so much training when it comes to sales, right? We know how to role play, and we have scripts. We do all those things, but we haven't been conditioned to do that in recruiting.
That is powerful, Libby. You're right. I do appreciate scripting it like a play.
Well, it's like a play. We're rehearsing it.
Yes.
People are standing in the same place. Like the chairs are ready. The water's ready. The books are facing a certain way. Put a piece of trash on the ground to see if they step over it or do they pick it up. Like there's so much you can do in that interview process. So if you think like WooRecruit is just the software, it is not. I do so much teaching and coaching on this recruiting aspect to try to up-level your office. I want to get the owners out of the recruiting section because we suck at it. We want to fix everybody. We're the life of the party. We're also an HR nightmare. And we don't follow a process. I can make one all day long, but will I follow it? I'm like, nah, it's boring. But our office staff should.
Like you said, I think a fatal flaw of business owners is in the hiring process and the firing process. That we just like people. We just believe in everybody. We don't think we need to practice when they come in, because we think in an interview, if we click with the person and we like their energy, we're like, oh, you're going to be awesome.
I'm like, oh, you have a 5-year-old, so do I. Yes. Where did she go to school? Like, and then it's rogue from there. It's just like,
yay!
So one thing we've done with ours, and we've gotten, I think we've gotten really good with hiring. We have very low turnover, but you said to set the stage, and for us, that starts when they walk into the office. Like, we have a very inviting office. We always have dogs in our office. We have pictures on our wall of our team, not like motivational posters of Michael Jordan dunking. Like, good for him. That's great. But here's the people you're going to be working with. Like, little things like that will set us apart. So, like, even the FedEx and UPS, when they come in the office, there's snacks by the door, water bottles for them if they need anything. We always ask them to eat in the bathroom, like a very inviting place so you feel comfortable and you drop that guard where you know you're not going to be a number. And that like alone will help change the morale during the interview. So they don't feel like it's just like, all right, well, I'm number 99 today, so let me just get through this interview. Like we want them to drop that guard. We want to go through everything. We want to know about the emotions. We want to see if they're human. We want to know if that resume was just a bunch of BS they now could have used on ChatGPT.
Well, resumes hold no weight whatsoever. So if you follow the big wigs like the Cameron Heralds and the Gary V's, they tell you resumes are as worthless as the piece of paper that they're on because they can put anything on it.
Yep.
So we need to listen instead of asking them those questions, more about like, what do they say and how do they say it? What is their body language? There's a great book on body language that like we don't even pay attention to in an interview that will tell you so much information about that person's character.
No, absolutely. And that's the other thing too, when I try and tell people, like, you can't look at the application and try and find the perfect applicant. You got to get them through the door because I'm a rock on paper. If I try why would you hire me? You'd be like, not even a maybe. Like, this guy is not qualified for anything. But get me through the door and we'll have a conversation and we'll talk about why I'm a value to your company and an asset to you. And that was a fatal flaw for me for years. Like, I would just screen them like, no. Now it's just like, just come in the door.
And that's why I am, so that's why when it comes to like ATSs or assessments, I have a very strong stance of where they should be in the recruiting process. If you're using them to screen people, again, you don't know how the fingerprint was made. It can screen out some really great people because they look flat on a piece of paper or they didn't answer a question the exact way they were supposed to, versus meeting them and then maybe adding that assessment, because we all like Colby's and DISCs and Myers-Briggs. Add it later in that process versus up front, because it can create bias.
Yes, I agree with that. Mr. Drew is listening in. Hello, Drew.
Hey, Drew's here with me in Atlanta.
Oh,
we're going to go to dinner right after this.
Oh, there you go. So Drew's waiting for us to hurry up.
Now we have FOMO. You guys are together in person.
Well, I love it. Recruiting is getting harder and harder and harder. And like you said, we're investing a lot of time into recruiting. We're investing time into hiring, investing time into training. And that it gets really expensive to hire, train, keep them on for a month, and then realize they're not a good fit, and then do that vicious cycle over and over and over.
Well, I don't think we fire them fast enough.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in a matter of a couple days. But again, as owners, we want to try to make it work. Versus you saw the signs, because when we fire people, we typically like, oh yeah, like they were late a few times. They were on their phone all the time, versus letting the metrics talk. And I know it sounds very corporate, letting the metrics talk, and you gotta cut them fast. I did a talk on this, and it was looking at it like you're setting them free to go find their calling and their passion, versus like, oh, you're leaving them without a job.
I forget who it was. They said it wasn't this. It might have been this, but they said you got to promote them to another company. Like,
yes,
they're just not for you, and that's fine. And not everybody is meant to work with you. You're doing your company a disservice, and you're doing them a disservice, because for us, we want you to grow personally and professionally. And if you're toxic and negative, like, that's just not going to happen. And you're going to bring the rest of the team down. You're going to bring production down, and then there goes morale and culture. So.
You mentioned something a second ago about how much training we do and onboarding, and we create the training for the new hires. But I want to ask everybody, how much training do you do for your interviewing? Like, in reality, you're choosing, at least in my cleaning company, a $90,000 employee. How much practicing are you doing on that? How much rehearsing? How much prep of the office? How much role play are you doing when it comes to your interview process? And the reason I like recruiting is it's like the ugly stepchild. It's the underdog. Like, sales is sexy.
Yeah.
Where, they're like, oh, I'll do that when I need somebody when it comes to the recruiting.
But you're right. I mean, how much time do you spend? Because if you do that work on the front end, if you really polish those processes, if you rehearse, like you said, train, follow the process, and then rehearse, you get it right on the front end. And not getting it right on the front end costs us so much money. And
So
not
much money, and
money,
bad
the
hires.
mental anguish. Like we all know as business owners, and it affects everyone else in our company, but it is one of the things that weighs on you most, I think, as a business owner and the leaders in your company when you got it wrong, right? When you got the hire wrong and now you have to do something about this wrong hire. It's just.
And it kills morale and it weakens culture. And so it's really hard to do. But I think that it's something that would really save our companies a lot of money and stress if we put more thought into it. But I think this also comes with like a pre-COVID and a post-COVID mindset.
Yeah.
Right. Pre-COVID, I could just throw anything I wanted on Indeed and I get 100 people apply. And the days of that are gone. It was coming anyways. And COVID just accelerated it to where, the great resignation is over. I will say that, but not the quit rate. So what COVID did is it conditioned people that if they didn't like the job or you were a crummy boss or they didn't fit in the culture or they didn't like the pay or whatever it was, people are okay now quitting. It's normal. So we're going to continue to see that quit rate at a very rapid pace still. We're not going to see that go away for a little while because it conditioned people to quit and job hop.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard for a lot of small industry or small business owners because that was the case. Like, we'll just go to the next place and go to the next place. But I found with our company, again, we have very low turnover, and I'm very grateful for that. And it's not because solely of what
it was by design, I'm sure.
Yeah, and my team, they believe in the company, they have buy-in in the company, and when we've had a few people leave in the past for $1 more or $1.50 more, within 3 weeks they're begging to come back. They're like, that wasn't the right move, and I love you, mean it, but I mean, you made your decision, so now you have to live with it. But it's people want that safe place to go to where they feel like a human, they feel like a part of the family, and that you care about them. And that is part of that hiring process that we need to go through during the interview, so they feel like they have a home. I like to say, if you want a job, go to McDonald's. If you want a career, come here, because we're long term. We're not going to be temporary. We want to grow with you personally and professionally. So you got to get them excited and give them a reason to want to stay.
And I think sometimes this is like one of the number one answers you get about like, why did someone leave a job or why do they want to leave a job? And it's because of two reasons. Typically it's disrespectful management or owners, but the second one is a disorganized company, right? That messy company, which a lot of us tend to be when we're small, but that breeds insecurity to our employees. That messy, disorganized company that we may not have things figured out, and that's okay. But when it's too messy and disorganized, it can breed that insecurity that they start to look for another home, because employees love stability.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, come in tomorrow at 8:00, and then like 7:15. Well, just come in at 9:00, or we don't even need you today. I see that a lot in the washing industry. I've seen a lot of people leave companies because of that. My operations manager, he's been with us for 5 years. That was his main gripe with his previous company. Like, they would call him on the way to work. He had a 45-minute drive to work. Hey, we don't need you today. Just come in tomorrow on a Saturday.
Yeah. In my company, we pay them if it cancels last minute or a customer cancels. We still pay them because they rely on that money.
Absolutely. Yeah, that consistency is important.
Yeah.
So to Woot Recruit, how do we get there? How does it work? What's the cost?
So it's wootrecruit.com. That's Woot and then recruit.com. It is a monthly subscription. So we're primarily based for high turnover industries, right? That frontline, laborer. We only recruit for employees. We don't do 1099s because we're trying to really find them a forever home. Like, that's my goal. It's funny because my COO goes, if you're subscription based, wouldn't you want them to have bad retention of employees? And I'm like, no, my mission is to change the way the service industry recruits.
Right.
Yeah.
And by doing that, I teach so much on the recruiting process, because you guys would be surprised. Well, you wouldn't. of how many people say that like everybody sucks and nobody wants to work.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah, yep.
But here's the thing. I believe in like positive thoughts and manifesting. And you, in fact, are putting out there in the world that everybody sucks and nobody wants to work. So that is what you're going to get no matter who walks through that door.
And I've seen it. I mean, for years and years and years, it's that person who says that has the highest turnover. They're the biggest micromanagers. They're the poorest communicators. And they're just horrible leaders. And they constantly blame society and the workforce that it's all them. And they're just not taking time to invest in themselves to be a better leader, to be a better boss, to be a better communicator. And they constantly go through that cycle. They're hiring, they're firing, they're hiring, they're firing.
And I think that comes with age and time. You know, when I was younger, I've had other businesses and I wasn't a horrible boss, but you get smarter and wiser with time and experience, and especially mastermind groups like networking. When we put ourselves around good people, that helps us kind of see a different light or version of what's possible.
Absolutely. And like we talked about earlier, I don't hire anymore because I'm bad at hiring. So I removed myself from that role and put my team there because, well, they have to work with them every day. I don't. So I want them to have a better understanding or better feel for that person that they're going to be working beside, instead of saying me like, here, Libby, you're going to work with Angela today. Good luck. Instead, Libby, you're the manager. Why don't you interview the person that's going to be working with you every day?
Yeah, so a lot of my training in Move Recruit is made for the office manager or the hiring manager for them to sharpen that skill. And because here's the thing, we get sales training, we get onboarding training, we get tech training, whether you're cleaning, window washing, mowing, we have training for everything. But we rarely have very little training on how to actually hire and recruit. Very little training. We're good at the trade, and then all of a sudden we're supposed to know HR rules and what I can ask in an interview and what I can't.
Yeah, what you can't say.
Yeah. And it's something that goes very dismissed when it comes to how much effort we put in it. But I think it's one of the important things to look at. So my mission is to like really help teach your office staff how to do it and do it properly, because we can't afford to hire HR managers that come in and do this at some of our sizes. So we need to teach our staff how to do it.
Absolutely. Well, Libby, you're obviously, an expert in the recruiting field, and we could go on and on about that. And we're excited for people to be able to visit with you and network and learn from you about recruiting at Sales Boost. But you are speaking on, yes. I mean, what you kind of founded Recruit on, that you are have such a gift for creating processes. Yes. In every area of your business. And you found this, here is my problem. I need to create a strong process for it. That process created a company that helps everybody else. And yes. Like we said, we met you in New Orleans and heard you speak on playbooks, and we're blown away. I'm like,
So I remember that moment. Everybody's like, oh, okay, I'm listening now.
It's funny because this is my real passion, is systems and processes. It's like what I love to do. I can see gaps in certain areas of our business, and I don't go in and save the day. I go out and make a process and come back and give it to them. And I think a lot of business owners struggle with documenting their processes. And I just put a fun name to it. I called it a playbook because an SOP or a process kind of boring.
Yep.
So, I gave the original version of this talk, and I had created all the processes, and I gave templates of like how you're supposed to do it step by step. And then ChatGPT came out, and I'm like, dang, I didn't know if I could cuss or not. I was like, I just spent hours making my own process, and I'm like, this thing can do it for me in seconds. So then I went back and I reformatted the playbook talk. So I give you the mindset behind it and why it's important, and also some best practices, because AI can get us about 80% of the way there. But let me tell you what, 80% done is better than nothing. So I'm going to teach you on playbooks, mindset, and some best practices, but I'm also going to give you and teach you on the prompts to make your playbook. So I love prompts. I will say I am not the prompt master. My husband, I can tell him exactly what I want, but because he has such a high vocabulary, he helps me create these prompts. And so we're going to have pages and pages of prompts to help you create your sales playbooks, and also some best practices of what do I need to add to that. So we have a camcorder method. That's, how many times should I video myself? What should it look like? Because a playbook can be verbiage, right? The process documented, but you want to have some other supporting factors in there, like video or reference links as well.
Yeah, that having the prompt is like the key to success with using ChatGPT, because we can go in there and say, I need you to do this, 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 and it's going to spit out something. You're like, ChatGPT sucks. That's not what I wanted. But setting ChatGPT up for success with the prompt like changes everything and makes life so much easier. So just by giving that resource at Sales Boost, it's going to save so much time. And I could already see it. You're going to be putting it on the projector, and people will be typing away just to see if it works, because that's what I did in New Orleans.
And it's funny because I'm not just going to give you the prompt for your sales playbooks. Essentially, I have the prompt to give you every playbook in your business that you would need that would get you about 80% of the way there. And then from there, you just edit, right? You just edit. I'm not a writer. Most of us service owners, I'm not highly educated and I'm not very good at writing, but I'm very good at speaking my processes. Mm-hmm. So with these AI tools, it's going to get us 80% of the way there. So we can just edit it. We can just give it to our ops managers or our office manager. They can edit it for us, or we can continue that edit.
Yeah. And then add in the supporting documents, like you said, add in resources, add maybe in like the checklist or the videos or the Loom videos. And
my prompts will give you the checklist and the resource links, the prompts that I have.
You guys,
you just have to do the video.
It is unbelievable. Your ticket is worth just this, the amount of time it will save you. If you don't have, a lot of us think we have playbooks or SOPs in our business and they are not detailed or complete. And you will walk away from this you can walk away with stuff done. You can go back to your room before you even leave the event of Libby's class and have, like you said, all of the processes, playbooks in your business, 80% done, and just have to go back and add those videos. And the value of that, we're just prepping for a speech. We're doing a speech in a couple weeks on communication.
Next week.
Oh gosh. It's the first time we're taking the stage together, Libby. We could use a little manifesting, and it's going to go well. But a statistic we found in research is that average team member in an organization, in a business, spends 2.5 hours a day searching for information.
Oh, I have that in some of my slides, because as a professional organizer and a certified TAM management coach, I can go all day on this topic. So they waste 90 minutes a day looking for something. So if they're a $15 an hour employee, that's almost $5,000. If you're a $50 hour employee, that's $16,000. Like I said, I could go all day on this topic.
Love that.
Because you didn't have it. That's just such an example of how valuable, right? Just doing your class and actually finishing your playbooks is. So you just carried it through the numbers.
And then I also will share with you a way to organize the playbooks. And if you're lucky, I'll actually create you guys a template that I'll give you, because I created an appendix style spreadsheet that you can then save and organize the playbooks. Because here's the thing, where do we put them after that? It goes into the dark, dark hole of Google Drive, and you never freaking find it again. So I've created a way to organize the playbooks so that they're easy to find. And also if we know if they're an active or draft. So many of us are scared to make a playbook or even start it because they're like, oh, I don't want nobody to look at it. Oh, my spelling's wrong. But I have a little trick for you. Just put -draft on the back of it, and then no one can judge you because it's not done. And once you're done and you feel better about it, you can change draft to active.
So, this might sound for like young entrepreneurs just to start like, I don't need playbooks. I don't need SOPs. Like, the earlier you can implement these into your company, the better off you are. And then as you start hiring and you want to hire high caliber, in the workforce, not just Joe Schmo off the street who's flipping burgers. Like, that's not what we want. We want people to replace us. And if they come in there and see that you have all this stuff in place and they've come from a company that had this stuff in place, like, they're going to feel a lot more confident for wanting to work with you because, like we talked about earlier, they want to have that consistency. They want to have.
Well, this goes into recruiting. This helps you keep your employees because they feel the stability if you have your processes documented.
Yep.
It also attracts great hires as well. It attracts, if you can attract and retain great people, that's one of the 3 or 4 core competencies that you need to run a great company.
Yes, I love it. I'm excited. I mean, hearing you speak in New Orleans, whatever they say, the playbooks, I'm excited to get you on stage and hear you talk about it and get the actual the prompts from you again. So
if you are coming to my talk, you might want to bring a laptop so that you can play around at the same time where we're showing you live, because it's kind of funner to do it because I'm going to give you a Google Drive of all of the prompts, the examples, the slides, everything.
And they can implement right there and then ask questions while you're talking.
Yes.
Start engaging. All right, Libby, thank you so much. Thank you for working through our struggles of trying to get on StreamYard and Facebook Live tonight. We appreciate you taking time out of your day while traveling to do what you're really good at. Drew, she's almost ready for you for dinner. We got one more thing for her. Libby, how can our viewers find you if they want to find more information about WooRecruit and your business?
Yeah, actually the easiest way is libbyD.com, LIBBYD.com. It has all my businesses on there, has my personal information. I run a little podcast called Fearlessness, just about business struggles. Everything is on there. So that's the easiest way.
Cool. I just dropped it in the comments below so they can find you there. I appreciate you, Libby. Thank you to our guests. If you haven't signed up for Sales Boost, go get your tickets now. salesboostlive.com. I'm JC. This is Angela. And Libby, we appreciate you. Take care.
Good night.